consulting and coaching. He's been the former corporate head of learning and development at Larsen and Toubro. He's the GM and head and capability building at HPCL. So I welcome you, Dr. Ashis Sen. And our next speaker is Dr. Shamira Malekar. She's also an author of Emotional Intelligence. She's written several books which are there on Amazon, and you must definitely check it out. Plus, she is the associate professor at City University of New York in business management. Welcome, Dr. Shamira. So,
Thank you for the generous introductions.
thank you so much, sir.
Really grateful to you for actually taking out the time to have this conversation. Sulekha ji, as she just talked, is actually the founder of GAN Paradise, has done wonderful work in the field of counseling, emotional intelligence, and she has written books which include books on relationship, very well appreciated on Amazon by readers. And I'm sure that we are going to have a very fruitful conversations on certain topics which are of relevance to a lot of people who are in the audience.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me, sir.
Thank you.
So let's start this interesting conversation. I'm sure that is going to add a lot of value to our viewers, to our audience, whosoever is going to watch this. It be corporates, it be academics, it be students, it be upcoming leaders, it be entrepreneurs. I'm sure this conversation is going to add a lot of value and great insights from both the leaders. And definitely, I'm also going to add some insights from my experience. So, learning and development is the main focus nowadays. I was reading an article from Forbes which says that learning and development has become $446.1 billion industry in COVID times, of course. And this has been there in Forbes. And I would like to know from both of you, let's first have your views, Dr. Shamira, that we would like to have your comments on this current scenario of learning and development. What do you think? What are the changes going on around the world?
Yeah, very good question, Sulekha. Thank you. So we were looking at the role of educators typically in the student development and learning process. And as an educator, typically there are many steps which we can look at for student development. And I could have it as 3 points. One is the content, second is the process, and the third is the premise. So we were looking at, for the first part, for the content, where the investigation of content, and a question which we can ask is, what did I do to lead that outcome? Right, that could be number one. Number two is the process. It involves checking of problem solving strategies in the classroom. So for example, something like, do I understand the needs of my students? And understanding the needs would include something like what type of a learner the student is, whether the learner is somebody who is category A. In the category A, the learner would be a quick learner, one reading of the topic and they understand, one reading of the chapter and they understand. There is a second type of learner which requires practice, and they do it with practice. So do I understand the needs of my students? That is something which is essential. And at the City University of New York, we do have that Office of Accessibility, which means that if a student goes in to register with the Office of Accessibility, then they are having their own IEP, which is their individualized education plan. So that's the second one, which is the process part. And then there is the premise part, where the question is the problem itself, Now, why do I feel responsible in this situation? So, unfortunately, many rural parts of India do not have computers and laptops, so students may not be able to participate in online learning. However, with the City University of New York, right from March, they gave us 1 week of a break, saying that we should switch to online teaching. And then again, after 15 days, they cut short our Passover Easter break. They made it only 3 days. And they had all students, they gave them computers and laptops on rent. So they had them register and they gave them laptops. So these were the three premises in education where I feel the content, the process, and the premise, which are extremely critical. And we as educators need to understand that how can we effectively participate in that discourse. It involves assessing beliefs, also feelings and value systems. Whether we are looking at critical examination of the evidence, the arguments, alternative points of view. So learners are able to validate how and why and what they understand, and as well as they can give well informed judgments regarding a concept or a belief. That's the key.
Awesome, awesome. And I really loved this idea that giving laptops and other devices to students on rent and making sure that everybody is connected. That is something really outstanding. We must definitely appreciate that. And as far you say that feelings, values, and help us to examine, that really stands out. Dr. Sen, you would like to add to it and express what do you think about this scenario? I hope you're able to hear my voice.
So in the current scenario, uh, how is learning and development useful? I think Shamira ji talked about it beautifully. Let me add my piece from an organizational viewpoint. The one part, how we will do it, is probably something I'll deliberate later. But the second part, why should we do it, is something that I would like to first put on the table. The purpose at this point of time. Why should we have learning and development? We now know from enough research, which was at Shell and other companies, that to navigate a world you have not seen is going to be very, very tough and nigh impossible, almost impossible. But if you have seen that world, it becomes much easier to navigate. For example, some of these things that we are using very, very heavily today, like say Zoom or WebEx, actually envisaged a world where physical interactions would be replaceable by virtual interactions with a feel of reality. Since they had seen that world, it was easier to design something. And when that world actually came across where you can't even cross a furlong or half a mile, it became from something nice to have to something non-negotiable. And that is why to in this world where today daily challenges are very different from challenges of yesterday. Today's challenges are different from challenges of yesterday. Continuous learning, continuous updation, continuous capability building is the only source and sustainable source of competitive edge. It is again something that is non-negotiable. How do we meet customers without meeting them? How do we energize employees without patting them on the back? How do we talk of goals, targets, give feedback, understand each other with the help of virtual reality? Now, these are challenges that are imminent, that are today already on the plate, but many more we don't even know about. So, as the changes occur, and in this VUCA world, today there is no other option but to learn. In the yesteryears, actually, we were competing on resources that we had, resources like natural resources, land bank, kind of location that we operated from. Locations have become something of a non-entity in many of the organizations, which can actually operate from virtual space. Large number of startups. So these natural resources have given way, and your other resources have given way to something called intellectual resources. Now, intellectual resources need continuous sharpening, and continuous sharpening means continuous learning. So that is why I feel organizations have no other role as important as imbibing and I think seeding learning and development concepts and cultures within the organization. That's the most important role they have, from the CEO to the L&D head. Everybody has that. So that's my take. How probably we'll deliberate later as we go along. So that's my take. Thank you. I will
Thank you
request
so
Sulekha.
much. Thank you so much. You said it so beautifully that intellectual resources mean continuous learning, and continuous learning means continuous sharpening. That's amazing. And in VUCA world, there is no choice but to learn, and that's what helps us to navigate the unseen world. I would like to add to it that when you said this, just in December 2019, Zoom had a customer base of only 10 million, 10 to 30 million around this figure. But in June 2020, this figure was 300 million.
Mhm.
Quite, quite a deal. That's why Zoom had to, have new people on board who can be security advisors. The former Facebook security advisor, I don't remember his name right now. He was hired by Zoom for the security. So that's how it changed the business scenario as well. Excellent, sir. I have one more question. This is a very interesting one and very close to my heart. I feel transformative learning. So when people talk about underlying belief systems and so how they change our lives for good, I would like to have your thoughts on what is transformative learning in your context, and what do you think about it when it comes to the changing lives of people in both corporate and academics? Yeah. So can we have Dr. Shamira talk about this first? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, whenever we think about transformative learning, we think about Mazirov's research, right, and his amazing theory, where we're looking at the fact that in transformative learning is one theory that focuses on adult education and young adult education throughout. So it is focusing on the idea that learners can adjust their thinking, which is based on new information. So they're taking that new information, synthesizing it, analyzing it, and then processing is the other basic steps in transformative learning. We are looking at transformative learning as an orientation, right? As a way that learners interpret and reinterpret their sense, wherein experience is central to making some meaning out of it, and hence we have some learning. So, put in simple terms, maybe in simple ideas, it's an idea
True.
that learners who are getting new information
Mhm.
are also evaluating their past ideas, and understanding. And then there is a shift. There is a shift to the worldwide view that they can obtain new information and give a critical reflection. Let me give you an example of this learning. So, as a faculty, we had an option this term to undergo a training program as well. So, imagine we have 5 courses to teach in the spring. Spring started from August end to December, and 5 courses means, and there was one honors class as well, so total of 100 students. And because of online teaching, one thing which has happened here is we do not have you know we do not have class time, face to face interaction. And one thing which was told to all professors was that we should give an assignment every week. Now that became a tedious task for all students who was doing online class as well as the faculty. Now, how? Imagine 100 students, so every week on the discussion board, we have 100 assignments to grade. Now, keep that apart. We were doing this program. and it's just supposed to be a 6-week program, and that had transformative learning. It was online. There were videos posted, there were assignments, there was reflection, and the reader was actually grading us. So imagine, they were grading us as professors, and we had topics like group discussions and note taking, role playing, case study method, some of the few methods of learning and development which can be used online. And when as a professor, all of us were sharing notes, and when as a professor we were writing the reflection, our reader, who was supposed to be a senior faculty with a lot of experience, she was giving us comments, and we were asked to change and change and change. So, that became a case wherein even in our own critical reflection, trying to have the two bases, wherein there is instrumental learning and communicative learning. So whatever we learned, let's say, for example, one of the modules was note taking. Now, as a child, even my own children, we have had note taking right from childhood. Nobody will tell us take notes. We were always there. Professor is there, we are taking notes, we are writing. It is strange to know that it was said to us in that module 2 that we should be teaching to take notes. We should be actively telling the students to take notes. I was like, really? We really have to do something like this? Is it really required? Then I decided to have an experiment. What I did was, in class itself, it was the day of a midterm, and I was teaching motivation. So I said, okay, we will finish this motivation theory of motivation to be applied to practice. So can you imagine, like, motivation theories which include the scientific management theory by Frederick Taylor, or Vroom's reinforcement theory, or Maslow's theory, Herzberg's, McDouglas McGregor's theory, X and Y, theory Z.
True.
All of these theories we were applying in practice. So what I did was, I had my blackboard set up for the midterm. Okay, and there was only one question, just one caselet. And then I went to class. Mine is a synchronous Zoom class, and then I have asynchronous time also given. Asynchronous means that after the let's say my lecture is 3 hours, so I would teach 1 hour online synchronously on Zoom, and then to avoid Zoom fatigue, give them an assignment. So the 2 hours remaining was supposed to be for them to take the midterm. So in that 1 hour, what I did was, I had an assignment on discussion board, and it was the theory to practice. So motivation theories, and let's say a statement is given. Let's say example. So I enjoy doing my job. I don't feel any stress. I'm on top of my game. So which theory is this in action? So that's supposed to be your Maslow's self-actualization phase. And just an example, one theory. So that module, I discussed with them. There were 8 such examples, 8 practice questions, and I asked them, and I told them the answer also. And as always, I was expecting they will take notes. So that would have been very easy for them, right? Because what I did was, and the 1 hour was over, and the midterm, what I did was, promptly I had that same 8 questions, same, put up in the midterm. And I told them that with those 2 hours asynchronous, we'll be discussing it next Wednesday. So my Wednesday class, usually it goes up to 12 o'clock my time, because, the time differences. It ends at 6:40 US time. So we said, okay. So I discussed with them, told the answers, put it on the midterm, and 1 week was given. After a week, when I'm grading them, I'm finding only 50% of the students are getting full points. I mean, I would think in India, such a thing would happen, they would be scoring all points, right? Why not? A theory to practice, professor has just discussed it, and it can be easily attainable. Here it's so strange. I mean, 50% only. And then I asked them, they said, professor, we didn't take notes. Usually we take notes, but this time we didn't take notes. And we had to go back to the PowerPoint slides and the chapter, and then find out which theory. So, a simple thing of a transformative learning aspect, which is taking notes, where there is meaningful schemes and meaningful structures, which are the basic elements that we have to, as a professor, as an educator, we have to inform them, and then maybe we can have their full understanding. Thank
Agreed, agreed. True. Even while you are talking, I'm taking notes.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I really love taking notes, because as you said, that reflection, sometimes certain words, certain combination of words, they give new perspectives to the listeners. And that becomes very important. And you've really given a nice reflection that how taking notes itself was a transformative activity. Beautiful. Dr. Sen, you would like to add to this?
I think,
Amazing insight from your
yeah, I
corporates
think,
and organizational experience, yes.
yeah, I think she made some very good points. For me, transformation means change. And for me, transformation means closer to metamorphosis, changing for the better. And since human beings, as a species, are supposed to be more willful than compelled, transformation to me is willful change. So, as Richard Boyatzis talks about, I would like to say it is self directed change. And directed change cannot be at the mandate of others, must come from a personal vision. And for companies, it must come from a organizational vision where they decide on their destiny and desire to move because their destiny is something that they are delighted with.
Awesome.
So transformation happens when deep down in your mind and body, you have understood that some assumptions and beliefs that you carry about things, about the future, need to change. So it could be as simple as I want to be the best student in class, or it could be as great as we want to be the most powerful nation on earth. Singularly, it gives you energy. Collectively, it disperses energy into a large number of people where they commit themselves to something that they co own. So it's difficult, it's challenging because it needs excellent collective leadership to seed such visions into people and for individuals to think what they really want to create. What is the future they really desire to have? While it is difficult to conceptualize, it is energizing to pursue. That is why maestros, whether it's a tabla player or it's a violin player or is it a sitar player, they play for days and months, hours and hours without fatigue. They love it. Transformative learning is pursuing those goals which not only are important but inspirational, because inspire comes from a word in Latin which is inspirare, which means breathing new life into you. Does that goal or do those goals breathe new life into you?
I
So
would request
organizations must look
to,
at this.
sorry to interrupt, I would request you to repeat that line. You called this term.
Okay. What I said is you must see those pictures, dream those dreams, which inspire you, because inspire comes from a Latin word inspirare, which means
Inspire.
breathe new life into you. Does it breathe new life into you? Do you feel energized to get up in the morning despite your aches and agonies and want to go ahead because you want to do something which is meaningful to you? I think Shamira ji talked about meaning, and that was so beautiful.
True.
So does it make sense to you? Does it give meaning to you and your life? And if it is not that, somewhere you will not do transformative learning. You will be doing learning by compulsion. For children, it may be okay. For adults, it is meaningless.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So that is
Really,
something I would request people to actually go in for transformative learning. Thank you. I would, in fact,
thank you so much. This is wonderful, wonderful, insights coming from you. That it's all about willful change. Let me summarize it a bit. It's all about willful change, a self-directed change, where it is more willingness than compulsion. You said it beautifully. Decide on destiny and desire to move. This is wonderful. And it must come from deep within so that this energy disperses to a large number of people because it is something that they co own. I think this is outstanding. Thank you so much, sir. This is really beautiful that your goals must inspire you, whether you are tired, whether you have lot many things on your platter, but you still gather yourself and you still focus on what is important, not only for yourself, but for others as well.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Shamira. Thank you so much, Dr. Sen. Let us lead towards our.
Before that, I would also like you to add, because as a mother, we are constantly
Yeah,
learning as a parent. Do you not learn on a daily basis
true,
to
true,
defend your child better? Is it not energizing? Even
true.
if you are not at the best in terms of your energy levels, do you not walk that extra mile to learn
Exactly.
something special? Because you want to be the best mother in the world, right? So your thoughts, your ideas is something I would also like to listen before we move to something else.
Thank you so much, sir. See, when it comes to transformative learning, I think I myself went through a huge transformation in my life. Well, when there was this, I was at the lowest ebb of my life when I was in a paralytic situation. And coming from that situation took me almost 15 years of dedicated efforts to work on my health.
Mhm.
So, come whatever in my life, I give my health the utmost priority. And that's what has taught me that there is a future. Every day is a future, and we are creating it. So, what I'm thinking today is going to definitely affect my tomorrow. What I'm actually doing today, it's going to create my tomorrow. So, consciously living in this mindset, not having a very overwhelming big picture in my mind, but living by every day, creating those goals, having those desires, as you said, desires lead us to a vision and working towards those desires every single day. As is said anonymously, very beautifully, that a little progress every day adds up to big results. I think every person, Dr. Shamira, Dr. Sen, you contributed to my life so very much. Since the time I have come in contact with you, I have transformed. And I really want to give that credit to all the members, Dr. Ashis Sen and the members of Field. It's been really a transformative experience for me because leaders like you see something, see a capability in some person, and they want to drive that person further. They want to push that person further with certain few of the motivations, and they feel that okay, this person is going ahead with this motivation, so next motivation comes by, and that becomes a bigger motivation in itself because you are thinking of that motivation for us. And as is said by my previous coach, also Dr. Rita Shah, I would also say my thanks to her. She said this very beautifully. She said, contribution leads to growth. That's it's not that growth leads to contribution, it's contribution leads to growth. When you are in a contribution mindset always, you don't worry about what is coming your way. You don't worry about whether things are happening or things are not happening. You just contribute to the best of your ability in that particular moment, and that keeps you going. And in my journey, I am currently coaching certain entrepreneurs who have done fabulous. Recently, one of my clients, she had a she went for a global healthcare award, a 101 global healthcare awards, and she gave me a wonderful, wonderful testimonial. It was so heartwarming for me to have that testimonial from her, and we have been working together from last couple of years. For her and for me both, it was a transformative experience. And when it comes to being a mother, yes, being a person who was hardly able to handle herself physically, I will say my husband, my family, who have always been there, my neighbors, my community around me, they have transformed me altogether. Asking for a little help to the people at some given point of time can be a transformative experience. If I ask my friend that please handle my child for a day because I have something to attend, it's a big deal. Not everybody will do that for you. But what is it that I am making that person feel matters the most. Am I really acknowledging her contribution in my life? So all these little things, be it personal life or professional life, I think these little things make a big difference, and they make us who we are. And
Wow.
Very good.
Wow. Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, very well put, Sulekha. I mean, typically they say that a child is in a continuous struggle to be close to the parent and be away from it. So
yeah.
that continuous struggle. So we as a parent have to be getting that part right. Wherein I would quote here Sharu Rangnekar. He's our Indian guru. Actually, he talked about transformative and change, and he gave us six philosophies where he
Mhm.
talked about wait, negotiate, then there was fight and flight, and then there was surrender, and then there was the curse. Now in it is some of it is applicable in parenting as well, I would say, where we wait and
True, true,
negotiate
true.
at times. There are times when there is conflict, there's fight, or sometimes there is flight, and then we say, okay, now there is no way we can go further. The age is the real crux. So that is something which is essential. When you're looking at transformation also, where it could be a disorienting dilemma. A disorienting dilemma could be a situation wherein the learner finds out, or the child finds out, that what they taught or what they believed in the past may not be accurate. Now, this is the first part of the transformative learning for sure. This is the aha moment, right? Where the child or the student could consider or hear something which they may have not understood before. So now this orienting dilemma could be a challenge, right? It can be uncomfortable also, but it's a key spark, for that process. There could be the other step, which could be self examination, right? It could be critical assessment, or planning a course of action, or acquisition of new ideas and knowledge, or we are looking at exploring and trying new roles, or building new self efficacy in our own roles and relationships. All of these are aspects of transformative learning which our children, or any child, is actually undergoing, whether it's a baby who is going to kindergarten, or a preschool, or looking at an adolescent who is in middle school, or a teenager who is in high school, or maybe initial years of college as well. All of this, the phases of transformative learning for sure are applicable to all. And as a mother, that juggle is important for sure.
True, very true. And I must say this, when I joined as a research scholar, and then reading the papers that sir had already given me, it made more sense to me. That one paper, leadership, that gets results, by Daniel Goleman. Those 6 types of leadership. Whenever I think about that, whole day I'm in that mode. I keep thinking, what kind of a leader I am in this moment. When I'm dealing with my child, I ask myself, am I being coercive? When I'm talking to my client, I try to understand, am I being coaching person? Am I being pace setting? Am I being authoritative? What kind of a person I am in this moment? And that really helped me to grow inside my head. I don't need to tell it to somebody what am I thinking, but it helps me to assess every now and then to understand who am I in this moment, and is it going to give me any results? Is it going to help the client? It's going to be beneficial. So all those questions I keep asking myself when I'm interacting with the people. Yeah.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. In fact, when you reflect, that is when transformation begins, because you are reflecting on an issue and you find out your deeply held assumptions which otherwise make you act without thinking. When you think that is this coercive and we or is this authoritative style, what you are doing is trying to find out what you have been doing without thinking, is it effective or not effective. That's where you are changing the governing variables. That's where you are changing your styles by thinking, and that is transformation. Because many of the beliefs that we have, whether it's about religion, whether it's about the state, whether it's about politics, are so deeply embedded that we act without thinking. And transformation means being conscious of the choices we make
Exactly.
on actions, on thought. So, transformative learning, as I said, one part is, as we said, vision, which is changing your assumptions and beliefs, or at least creating those assumptions and beliefs of the future which you think are important. And the other is existing ones. Are they useful or not useful? So, thank you. Wonderful to listen to.
Thank you so much, sir. And it really changes the kind of questions we ask. It really changes, also affects our clients or the people who are talking to us. It changes their thinking as well. They also change their questions continuously while they are talking to us, and
It does.
that's I think what is the beauty of coaching. Continuous learning. Thank you so much, and it's been really interesting to have these insights from you. Let's move on to one more question, a very interesting one. And this is, what is the new arena of learning going to look like with the change in mediums and methods that we are witnessing right now? Definitely, the methods have changed, the mediums have changed. What's your take on how it is going to look like in next couple of years?
Yeah, very good question, very pertinent to the times. So typically, of course, as you said, Zoom, there is the Google Classroom and Google Hangouts, there is the Remo platform, we have Blackboard Collaborate also, which is on Blackboard as a platform for student learning. These are all online platforms. So one clear outcome here is that even though students are okay with online learning, still we can clearly state that now face-to-face learning is here for staying. People love to have that physical interaction, that physical touch, for sure. It is very critical that as a educator, we are looking at giving a chance, to learn about new perspectives, where we are looking at them to identify and question their own assumptions, where as a professor we can model the behavior by sharing a story, by understanding the problem. As a matter of fact, we were told in our training all over the summer, if summer is from June to August, in the summer we had to take training, how to teach online, because what happens is there may be professors who might, there may be some noise and they say, oh, can you turn it off? So acceptance that there is noise, acceptance that there is disturbance, but maybe we tune it in the first few lectures itself, that everybody is together, have everyone together in the conversation, not only one or two students who are saying yes, but everyone responding. Because otherwise with the online, people might turn off their video, put themselves on mute, and they are all gone. They may be working, and they may be working because these students have full-time jobs and they're working and having their education. So getting that opportunity, creating that opportunity for critical discourse, that is also, which is one of the bases, right? So as a professor, I can introduce a topic, I can give them various articles to discuss so that they gain new perspective and understanding. And additionally, I can also have an assignment, right? They can go and interview, which is fields philosophy, where you go and interview CEOs, go and interview people for their different perspectives on that topic. So as a result, when they get different points and perspectives, they can use that to be supporting with contrasting articles. Now they have that base, they have contrasting articles, then students can bring about their own thoughts and insights for different element, and that can be a whole new process of learning, which in
Beautiful.
these times I think is essential. Of course, staying up to date is the key for sure. But as an educator, we are looking at the theories, but learning theories is essential, but we are looking at implementation of its practice. So we are looking at that practice by actually telling them which theory is in action, and that's, I think, is a degree for an ideal way for learning and development.
Awesome, awesome. This is a really an outstanding example that you give them a chance to identify and question their own assumptions and come up with critical views of what they've already learned. And as you said, it's a very great and nice activity that they should be given articles, reflect on it, just because now they have a base knowledge. Now they can criticize, the contrasting articles, and they can bring in their own new knowledge and views to the table. That's really wonderful. That's really wonderful. So, Dr. Sen, you would like to add to it in the organizational context?
So thank you so much. Even in the educational context, some of the things she said is so wonderful. Who could have imagined 8 months back that IIT Guwahati, IIT Bombay, IITs would give degrees without attending classes physically? Who could have imagined the IIMs actually giving such degrees? Or for that matter, universities across the world. And the organizations are accepting them. They're not only giving the degrees, but they're being accepted as full graduates and postgraduates by organizations. So there is something that is changing, and changing significantly. What does it mean? It means opportunities which has never been there exist today. Sitting here, a student tomorrow, I believe, can take 3 courses in engineering, a couple of from Stanford, sitting in India, online classes, and one medical subject he wants to learn at Harvard Medical School, and maybe from Yale something else. So in my days, when you learned engineering, one discipline from the same college. So I did mechanical engineering, I learned mechanical engineering. I could never look into some of the subjects which were not my branch. So, and second is, as I said, distance is of no more any relevance. And degrees can, if online degrees are okay, then how can you deny Harvard and Stanford a license to give a certificate to your people that they are proficient? So this is something that should open up new vistas, new arenas in the field of learning, which were never there. One. Second is, I think face-to-face learning will always be there. People, when television came, they said radios would go off. When we had the radios, probably people thought of something else, like the newspapers going off. Nothing goes off. They simultaneously exist. But the license to the other is also valid. So both online and face-to-face would coexist and would be valid.
True.
That's something that I think would happen sooner than we expect, because necessity is the mother of invention, but necessity is the mother of anything that we give license to as valid. So this is going to be something that's important. Very large number of organizations today actually find it is easier to do 2-hour sessions for their executives after having done their work. Earlier, they were going to the training classes, and the entire 3 to 4 days, 2 days was lost, or a day was lost. Today, they say the same thing. If you can teach in 4 days, 2 hours each, we are fine. And I'm doing it for Fortune 500 companies, some of the largest companies, and the government bodies like the railways in India. Online courses, whether it's some of the Fortune 500 companies, and it has relevance because some of the people say, I can come back at 7 o'clock in my home and learn on emotional intelligence or some other subject much more comfortably while actually sipping a cup of coffee in the break for 10 minutes. So it makes a lot more sense than we would think. And I can actually reflect. If learning has a process of reflection, then smaller bites, forget about micro learning, which is about 5 to 15 minutes mostly. even an hour or 2 hours module is much more welcome today than a 3 day continuous module. Not that it will go away. It has its own benefits, own charm, but it also means that a large segment has found charm and interest in another format, and that's there to stay. So we see also large number of corporates who were sending, and this is something that I believe would happen sooner than we may think, sending their executives to foreign top universities, actually bringing the virtual reality into their rooms. So they could have a center, instead of sending 4 people to US to a top university, you could have 20 people or 15 people trained at the same expense. And that makes sense. That makes sense. So a lot of things will change, and these are some of the changes which I see coming sooner than later. Right? So that's my take.
Thank you so much. It's amazing.
Yes.
Definitely that you said that digital and physical will coexist. And as far as you said that if I as a person want to go for different subjects from different universities, this has made it possible.
Yeah.
Digital learning has made it possible. Having expertise from different universities, having degrees from different universities regarding a particular subject makes a lot of sense. And I think definitely recently when I attended an FDP session where Dr. Shamira was also there, it was really an eye-opening session that the national education policy has made so many things possible. None of I would even try to say this at this point in time. Uh, I'm thankful to the government for bringing such policy. When I was in engineering, it was in second year of engineering. I had completed 2 years, and that was the time when I fell ill and I had to give up my engineering. But then in today's time, if somebody has attended those 2 years, they will get credit for those 2 years, and those 2 years will count. For me, it did not count. In my professional or in my academics, it did not count. But now this policy makes it viable that yes, those 2 years are not wasted. You have gained something in those two, you have learned, and you must get credit for that. That's what makes me happy about this policy, that yes, the future generations are going to benefit. Because anything can happen to anybody at any given point of time. I was a pure non-medical student and had no choice with the physical condition given. Had to resort to commerce because that was the only thing my father could teach me with at that point in time. So I continued with correspondence studies. But the beauty of this national policy is that you definitely get credits for whatever you have learned. And I'm
Very
really thankful to Dr. Shamira. She suggested me to attend that FDP session. Wonderful, wonderful speakers were there from across the country, from across the globe, and 7 days of great learning. Thank you so much. I would like to thank you once again for that.
Thank you.
Beautifully said, sir. And well said that modular courses make a lot of sense, and keeping the attention span of people in mind, that also matters a lot. When people know that it's going to be 1.5 hours time, they remain more focused than when we tell them it's going to be a 4 hours time. Right? Recently, it so happened that I took two sessions in a single day with Tech Mahindra. It was a session on emotional intelligence, and the employees from India, they were given one specific time, and global employees were given another specific time in the evening. So it worked very well with them. A 1.5 hour session, it worked very well with them. One in the morning, one in the evening. It was done pretty well. And all of them attended, and all of them had their videos on. That was a nice experience. So great. Thank you so much. And this is something we are all witnessing right now. True. IITs and Harvards, what I saw that Harvard is providing so many courses. It's providing so many courses. You can go through their course, but if you want the certificate to be downloaded, that is when you have to pay. There are so many free online courses, and that's amazing. Thank you so much. You would like to add something more, Dr. Shamira?
Well, as a final thought, I would say that yes, learning and development are critical, important for sure, where we are looking at our feelings and needs and desires along with the learning that can be a both a logical and emotional aspect, right? In addition to our previous understanding, for sure. So where we go beyond what we have learned. So that's my final thought, that having a meaningful structure typically for the concepts, beliefs, judgments, feelings, they can add a shape to the interpretation of information. So students who are
Wonderful.
able to understand that, through self reflection, self directed learning, and maybe a critical theory, that's when they will be able to grasp things better.
Better.
So, and we are continuous learners, right? We, whatever the age, we have to be, that continuous learning is on. Otherwise, there is stagnation for sure.
Some final thoughts, Dr. Said?
I think my final thought, I don't know, I agree with her. We could become fossilized if we really don't study, learn all the time. But more importantly, I want to thank both of you for this wonderful conversation. I think I learned so much from both of you. Your insights were invaluable. Your enthusiasm was tremendous. And I think that this is what we need in students who are going to be of all age groups continually, to see that they continually learn. Again, thank you for this wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much. And with this final thought, I would like to tell our viewers that Dr. Ashis Sen, Managing Director of Ashis Sen Consulting and Coaching. So ASCC, that is Ashis Sen Consulting and Coaching, in association with IIPA, that is Indian Institute of Public Administration, is coming up with EI Elysium 2021, which is happening in February 2021. So all the people who are watching us today, we invite you, the research scholars, entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, and academicians, we invite you to submit your papers and be a part of this enlightening conference. It's definitely going to have electrifying speakers on board, and you'll definitely enjoy and get a lot of learnings for your future. And definitely be a part of this. All the details will be in the description of this video. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and share it with your friends who will be interested. And with this note, I thank you all for watching this conversation. Thank you, Dr. Sain, and thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Thank
Shamira.
you.
Thank you
Sulekha
so
ji,
much for
thank
being
you.
here. And
Thank you,
thank you
Shamira
for
ji.
inviting me to
Thank
your
you.
platform.
So see
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. It's been wonderful for sure. With Feel for 12 years, and we follow the systems for learning and development, continuous imparting knowledge, which is nice.
Thank you so much. Thank you.